and photo. We grew up, we followed our path. I'm sending my love to you.
Hi everyone, just waiting a couple more minutes for people to join in the conversation. And Robert just joined in now. I hope everybody is good. This is the 25th episode of the weekly program, and I'm gonna join Robert right now. Let me just Robert. Okay, let's see if. All right, Robert.
Yeah.
Oh, I can hear you, but I can't see you. I don't know what is happening. This happened before.
Weird.
It's weird.
I wonder if there's a camera thing. 1 second.
Sorry, everyone. We're just trying to figure out what is happening. Cool. I'm gonna try to do this again because I think this happened a couple times before. I don't know if this is like a. Okay, let us try again. Cool. Connecting.
How's this?
All right.
It's because I didn't have the video on.
So good to see you, Robert. How are you, man? You good?
I'm doing great. Yeah, thanks. Really happy to be here.
Oh, cool. Can you hear me well? Oh,
Hear you perfect.
Perfect, buddy. Can you hear me well and can you see me well? Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. Dude, first of all, it's a great pleasure having you here, man. It's like I know we're friends. I know we know each other and we met each other like in different times and different circumstances, but nonetheless, it's a great pleasure having you here, you know, and it's always a great pleasure talking to you.
And mutual. Yeah, thank you. Happy to be here.
So, Robert, usually how I start these conversations, I suppose that like some people might know you, some people might not know you, but because this is going to be put on IGTV and YouTube later, can you do a little intro of yourself, your name and what you do currently or what you're working on currently?
Before I begin, I want to just do this.
Can you hear me, Robert?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that or heard that, but that's a gong from Burma, and I want to also kind of do what I learned to do a little bit in Canada, which is kind of strange in this context, but it's a land acknowledgement, an acknowledgement of the first people who are here, and I want all of us to acknowledge our ancestors, because without our ancestors, there would be no herstory. There would. So with that as the beginning, you know, we interrupted our conversation before for you to talk to your mom, and you know, I think we all need to. You know, honor our parents and our grandparents and our ancestors and the earth and the world that we come from and the first people in the world too. So with that, I guess I'll start at the beginning for me, which was a lover. I'm very lucky that I had an amazing parents who had a great record collection with music.
Sorry, Robert. I think you're getting cut a little bit.
Okay.
I think
the volume is better. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. So yeah, so listening to music from all around the world, from many different cultures, from many different kinds of lyrics. With how's it goes in music, a lot of times it's about oppression and about feeling of empowerment as well, and feeling of going beyond the situation to kind of create a different future for oneself. And so I was inspired by music growing up, and I didn't really like the sound of me playing the instruments that I played, so I was like, I wanted to listen, and later on it became contribute in the way that I could contribute best, which wasn't necessarily through my own music at all, but from working with artists who I thought were incredible musicians and had something important to say. So quick bio: started in high school, 1972, with my favorite band of the year, my favorite album, an albino Edgar Winter's White Trash, that I brought to my high school because I was on a committee to create peace among these three high schools that were fighting each other. It was kind of stupid, stuff. So, well, how do you create peace? Well, let's bring a concert, So I did my first show with my favorite band, and it was a big success. And then in college, the first day I was in university, I also found the right people, how you do, so that I became right away on the concert committee. The first concert was Sly and the Family Stone, Stand. It was a great, great band. And we had Little Feat opening for them, Dixie Chicken, if you guys who are old enough to remember those great bands. Actually, it was very different styles, but it worked. I always also like to mix styles, because for me, great music is great music, and great lyrics are great lyrics, and the styles and all that stuff really doesn't matter. So I've pretty much worked in my career with all styles in different ways. After university, I worked with kids who were remanded by the court, considered juvenile delinquents or persons in need of supervision. So it was really good training for the music business. And I loved the kids, and we listened to a lot of music, and we danced and all that. And then I got into the music industry in two very different ways from other ends of the spectrum. One was traditional English, Irish, French folk music, and one was avant-garde jazz music, like completely different ends of the spectrum, but also all extremely brilliant and well-respected. And, so from the ancient to the future, that was the art ensemble band I worked with. Motto, but it really was traditional music to future avant-garde music. So I had a mentor who taught me a lot. He was the manager. I was kind of running his agency, and we toured groups that had never really been able to tour before extensively. So we were groundbreakers in that field. We toured Sun Ra with his whole crew, and we toured people, and it was just finding people who loved the music and making it happen through whatever means necessary, as Malcolm X says, right? By any means necessary, making things happen. So I was always in that world as an agent and a manager, because I believed in the confluence of interest, rather than conflicts of interest, creating harmony among the people, for the people, for the crowd who gets to see this crazy music. And started working with artists my age or even younger when I was young, and it was the whole new wave scene in New York and around the world, coming out of disco into great music from contemporaries of mine. So instead of working with people from different cultures, which I loved, I was also working with younger people than me and helping bring them along. And a lot of it was following the paths of these great artists as well, and blending, again, cultures and styles. And people like Lydia Lunch was a band I managed, Eight-Eyed Spy, and great writer also, a great artist. There's a bunch of maybe great artists, who I kind of hit up quickly to be on this. And for me, it was always about, the lyrics. I loved instrumental bands too. I worked with a band called the Ringbeats as well, instrumental surf music. But if you have lyrics, it was about the power of the lyrics. So for me, I learned to read by following the bouncing ball and reading the back of liner notes. That was albums in those days, 12-inch vinyl. So, you know, my whole thought process was moved and forwarded by lyrics and by music all the time. So I worked with a lot of great artists. I was blessed and lucky, and really just chose artists that I felt like had something to say and were interesting and were, you know, Violent Femmes was another one, the Gun Club. I mean, it was punk and new wave and, you know, rock and roll and all different aspects of music. That was early 80s when I started doing that. So from there, booking agency, we got a little bit tired of a booking agency when it was like more like running a travel agency.
Yeah.
You know, even though I was working with artists that I really liked, it was also a little bit, I don't know if anybody knows this reference, but a little bit Broadway Danny Rose, a Woody Allen movie, where the artist that I worked really hard with would say goodbye to do the next best thing, which was fine. I mean, you know, it was really painful for me at the time. It was like emotional, but it was garden variety, what people do. You know, they trade their wives, you know, to a next
Yes.
level. They trade up. You know, they want to have what the neighbors have. So they go for Madonna's manager, which happened to me a couple of times, even though Madonna told me that when I was on a panel with her manager that I was like, you know, the best guy in the panel, blah, 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 blah. You know, the other guy was managing Michael Jackson at the time, Freddie Demand. But, you know, she came up to me and called me Mr. Singerman, too. So nobody called me Mr. Singerman at that time. And that's actually like something, a friend of mine, Derek Sivers, who started CD Baby, I just bought his book that's coming out yesterday, and I read about 100 pages. It's very simple, very easy, very powerful. And he said something, always be really nice and always be really polite in his book. That's Madonna. That's how she actually succeeded, because she was really polite, nice, and, you know, engaged with human beings as a human being, you know. So that's a big lesson. Anyway, so I had a booking agency. We managed artists as well, the DBs, the Flesh Tones, great artists. Both of them still writing songs and, you know, doing music. DBs not so much as a group, but they get together every once in a while. Anyway, and you know, I was just working with artists that I really liked, and you know, it was a whole scene back then. Also, that's another really important thing, is the community. You know, everybody who's here is in a community. This is a community. So work within and expand your community, expand your teams. Another Derek Sivers thing is, instead of slogging it out, playing the same gigs all over and over and over, go build a team like you did, Nelson, I know, with your team. And then, so agency, so I kind of didn't want to keep doing this agency thing, so basically I created a new way of working with people. Also because of the, in a way that it's not a victim story at all, but it was like difficult to work with somebody for a long time and then say, go with God, you know, or whatever. It was just a little personally difficult. But so I decided, okay, if I'm working with somebody, they're paying me for my time in that moment, like present moment, like on your forehead, I know, you know. And then and we go where we go, and boom, it's all cool. So I kind of changed the business model around, and nobody was doing that. This was early 90s. Nobody at all. The only consultants in the music business were the guys that you paid for radio airplay. They were called consultants.
All right.
Instead of bagmen, which is really what they were. But that's the way the music industry worked back then too. So, I mean, not me, but, you know, I was always also left of center. Suzanne Vega, you know, I worked with her too. But, you know, I was always working with artists that I didn't really give a shit about commercial success. I cared about what, you know, I wanted the artists I worked with to live and to have commercial success because they wanted to, but it wasn't really my goal or interest or whatever, you know. I mean,
Can you give us some examples of the bands you work with? Because they're like, some of them, they're like quite like epic, you know, like I know them and I know that, but it would be cool just for people to know it.
Sure. REM, I worked with them at the beginning of their career. I was offered to be a co-manager with them, and I didn't actually. I know I don't have regrets, but I think it was because at that time I was so involved in my thing, and I wanted to do a lot of different things. If I would worked with one band, it would have been like they always call Burtis Downs and Russell Carter, the managers, like the fifth and sixth members of the band. So you
Right.
either focus on one thing or you focus on a lot of things. You know, I don't know, maybe it's my sign, if you believe in that or whatever, Gemini, Libra, you know, I want to work with a lot. I want to create a lot. And if I jumped in with REM, or I was also offered with Suzanne Vega co-management, with which I, in a way, I really regret not having worked with Russell and Burtis or with Ron Fierstein, who managed Suzanne Vega. It's more that. It's more the relationships that I
All right.
miss developing. But the community thing was, I was working with a bunch of people and had a whole, I was pretty much at 22 responsible for the living the livelihood of maybe 200 people or something, you know, so
Wow.
roadies, bands, and whatever. So, you know, and it was just at the beginning of their careers, so it was not an easy. We had one band that had commercial success called the Waitresses. They had a song called "I Know What Boys Like," which, you know, I remember, you know, we booked them for, I don't know, $36,000 in 3 dates, you know, and Chris Butler, who wrote those songs, might be on this call. I don't know. Of course, if you are, great. But that was actually a funny story too, because they ended up being managed by Cliff Bernstein, who manages Metallica with Peter Mensch, and sorry, Megadeth, Metallica, maybe both of them. No, I think Metallica. Sorry. But Cliff, I knew that Cliff and the singer were not going to get along because they just came from different perspectives. But Cliff said something really smart to me. He said, this is with metal also. He said, I only work with bands who have something to say. So I think I just said that a few minutes ago, but it's kind of a
Yep.
quote from Cliff Bernstein. And even in metal, it's only bands that have something to say. So that was kind of the most important thing. So REM, I managed the Smithereens. I got the Gypsy Kings their U.S. deal as manager. I didn't book them. I got Richard Hell. I belong to the Blank Generation. You can take it or leave anytime. Love Comes in Spurts, you know, great songs. Fear, a punk rock band of the day. X, the band X, which was great. John Doe and Exene
Yep.
Cervenka. Bush Tetras, Too Many Creeps. Some of them might be on this call. I don't know. You know, who knows? Who else did I work with? James
I've
Brown.
been.
James Brown. I
I've.
worked with James Brown.
Wow.
You know, I brought him back to kind of a up solution after he was playing black supper clubs and literally getting ripped off. And it was worst part of his career. Boom, into living in America through playing rock clubs like the Mud Club and like Studio 54 and like, you know, different, moved him from the worst venues to like the newer venues. So yeah, so I worked with a lot of really great artists, and you know, I'm lucky in that respect. I feel blessed to have worked with all of them, and I do feel like somehow I contributed to all of them with my efforts, you know, on the team. So really, that means to the people who love them and who heard them, which is really the whole point of everything that we do. It's not for us, it's for, you know, the people we never get to meet, right? The people in the last row, as Bruce Springsteen says, you know,
Yeah.
people in the last row. And you know, like you, Nelson, I always say you could play a stadium solo because you sing for the person in the last row, you know, when you're doing it, you know, so it's true. So and I've just been able to trust myself and recognize what I see in what I hear in music. There was a Billboard article when I was pretty young called Singerman Knows New, at Knew. Singerman Knows New. That was the title of it. I was like, cool title, you know. Or no, sorry, Singerman Knows, Knows, New, New, you know, like whatever, new music, new bands, whatever. So I guess that's kind of been, in a way, my thing is I'm trying to move things forward and, you know, work on projects that have my heart in them and that I believe are important for the community of music fans around the world, because that's who I want to serve, you know, by serving the music industry and by serving, you know, the music community and by helping create new opportunities. I believe that it's helping people around the world go through this horrendous, you know, disease with 125,000 people killed in the States, you know, 500,000, whatever it is, killed in the world. You know, pandemic, we're all at home. So I took this from you as well. I'm doing a panel series called Mondo, Be Present, Present Moment, Be Present Everywhere While Staying at Home, with a friend of mine from Buenos Aires and New York. And happening on July 30th. Mondo's a conference in New York that I'm partnered in, coming out of CMJ, which was really, really the important way for any artist around the world to get played on radio without $1 million to pay radio stations, basically, or to do radio promotion. So CMJ is really close to my heart because of what they did, and the same people who created and ran CMJ for many years were my partners in Mondo. So that's more about international development. This is a little bit more personal or whatever,
Yeah.
but you know, so July 30th is the next one. It's also part of Global Toronto, so we're merging two conferences, which I really like to do also, because the whole point of what we do in the world is collaboration with as many people as we can. So if we're collaborating with as many people as we can effectively for someone else, we're contributing in the biggest way possible. You know, I'll tell the story of how we're both here right now. Is
No, that's what I was gonna say. Like, it's so like the moment I met you, and I didn't like actually knew like what you've been like doing like through your life and stuff, and obviously we're gonna go through that experience, but like first, like it's so incredible like that, like how a person can positively change your perspective, and like with a good communication, because I think that's the key. Like you are so like polite, you're so like open-hearted, you know, you speak your own truth in a really like nice manner, and it's like it's amazing to like share like a room with you. You can feel like a good vibe, you know, you can feel something like pure, you know, that has nothing to do with like music or business or any. It's just like a simple human being, you know. Like that's like the amazing thing that really like got me like into like knowing you better and relate with you, and like be together and communication, and you know. So, and that's why actually I wanted to have you in the show, because again, like you're one of the people that actually like inspired me to go in a way I would never would go if I wouldn't met you, you know. So if you want to explain how we met, like
well, somebody wrote nicest guy in the music here, but there's a lot of really nice people in the music world. Why? Because they care about music, you know. So it was another one of the nicest guys in the music business who introduced me to you, my friend Nuno. I get emotional. You know, Neo Letal, Nuno Saraiva, is one guy with two names, you know, Portuguese, and you know, he created this thing with another good friend, Rui, up in Guimarães, Portugal, and Nuno had invited me to Portugal the first time to speak at the Lisbon Creative Fair or something like that. And then they invited me again to participate in Westway, where I met you. And Westway is a really great idea and a very, very cool thing. And Guimarães is an amazing town, where the idea was to have musicians from Portugal work with musicians from outside of Portugal. It's sponsored by the EU, which I want to give a big, you know, up to governments and collections of governments that actually care about the creative arts, because it's really about life. And, you know, Canada really helped a lot in the lyric translation. I'll talk about that a little bit later. So anyway, they invited me to Guimarães. I don't think I'd even seen you play, but they have a, I'm pretty sure I hadn't at that point, but they have a thing with musicians and you know, people from who were invited to speak, speakers from the industry, whatever. And you know, gave a very impassioned plea, which was extremely intelligent, which, you know, I'd heard aspects of before, but you put it in a really powerful way. But I kind of felt like it could use a little bit of tweaking, because, you know, I remember you saying it might not be exactly this, but I remember you saying, you know, we should give our music away. It's more coming from the copyleft perspective of, you know, and also you had been hurt by somebody in the music industry, you know, because whatever, you made an agreement that really wasn't serving you, you know, which is another problem that musicians do. And other people I'm not saying take advantage of the situation, but you know, not everybody succeeds at everything everybody tries to do. So whatever they tried to do, they failed, and you were hurt by that experience, I remember. So I just said something like, there's a lot of people in this room who really care about, you know, music. And I remember I knew that you were a tattoo artist and you made money tattooing. So I said something like, well, if you can make money generating income from your music and have a career from your music and touch people all around the world, is that something that you would like to do? And then, you know, you kind of said yes. And so, you know, it, to me, you know, that really kind of changed because you were really a good listener too, you know, not only me, but you know, it was like it's always takes two to tango, you know? Um, and that's one, again, Derek says in his book, you know, I'm a human being. It didn't matter what my resume was. You're a human being. It doesn't matter what you did or who you know, what your experiences were. But when two human beings meet, you know, wonderful things can happen, you know? And you know, Derek tells this story about, you know, a conference. A conference also I really highly recommend people go and meet people at music conferences. It's kind of my life, and now I'm music conferences everywhere from home instead of traveling, and good for the earth. You know, maybe not quite as much fun, but I'm having a blast now. So anyway, you know, somebody isn't their resume. Somebody isn't who they work with. Somebody is somebody, you know, and the more we can have fun and talk to people on the same level and not be afraid. You know, Derek was lucky that he worked at Warner Chappell and worked with met a lot of rock stars, and you know, they're just like him, you know. So the point is, be courageous. Also at these conferences, I'm not. You might think I'm crazy, but I'm actually a pretty shy person, you know? It's not like me to go public speak and do this, but for me, I do it because it's my passion and it's my, not public speaking, give a shit about public speaking, but, you know, serving the music community is my passion, and coming up with, you know, new ways to serve the music community and make life better, you know? I mean, be a change agent, you know, and I think that's what punk rock is. That's what hip hop is, you know. That's what songwriting is, you know. It's classical music was that, you know, back, you know, troubadours, you know, drums. The first words were probably sung, you know. So you know, it's about being a change agent through communication and through effective communication worldwide. So lyrics, you know, oops, shit, sorry. So
No worries.
lyrics, you know, this is one of my favorite lines, which I don't know if you can read this, everybody. It's backwards too. You were only waiting for this moment to be free. You know, Beatles, Blackbird, and I want to tell a story about that. It's a lyric merch. I'm going to do a little plug for the company that I work with, and also, again, I don't care about that. I do, you know, but I care about you, and you know, lyric merch. If you guys have your lyrics up on lyric merch, people can be buying your lines, because I chose these lines. It wasn't like something that was on a click here, buy this. You know, I wrote this. I chose those colors and stuff like that. So it's fan engagement, and they design it with lyrics that make, you know, sense for them out of whatever it is that you're writing that they want to show other people. So, and it's a way to actually generate income for yourself. So all the artists who are really hurting, because I know the live music scene has been, boom, shut completely, like tattooing was for a while,
Yes,
you know,
well,
because you can't go out. But, you know, that's a way that you can earn income. And just all you got to do is sign up with Lyric Find, get your lyrics in there, and then send a link like this to your fans, and they buy your songs, or even if they buy Drake or something, you know, or Frank Turner's music, if he's up on there, you know, even if they buy that, you're still making money because it was kind of the customer came from you. You're the referring affiliate. So, but presumably they'll be buying your songs too, you know, your lyrics as well, and showing them, and then you can see what's happening. So that's just a little thing. But this story, which is much deeper than that, is that I didn't realize that Paul McCartney wrote this song about integration. You know, I used to go see Martin Luther King speak, you know, Jr. A woman who helped raise me was in the church of Martin Luther King Sr. She knew him when he was a baby. You know, her grandfather was a runaway slave. You know, so you know, he wrote this about integration. Blackbird. You know, you were only waiting for this moment to be free. And right now, you know, we're in this moment again of you know, police brutality and killing people, which has always been 400 years of oppression in America and around the world, colonialization, etc. You know, we're all part of it. It's in all of us, and we all have to do things to change it. So I was working on this CEC project, which involved indigenous music as well, translating indigenous lyrics, and it just happened. It was like, because of my interest in serving really good ideas, I worked with a company up in Sydney, Canada. It's all the way up in the north. It's closer to Iceland than it is to New York, because it's all, if you fly to America, you always fly over that, because it's one of the first parts in North America that you reach. Anyway, Sydney was a great company called Mercado that did back ends for festivals. They recently sold, but I traveled within a few miles of a young woman, 16-year-old girl, who did this song in her language, which is Mi'kmaq. And when I was traveling there, my friend who was the CEO of that company, Darren, told me about this community and, you know, how amazing it was, and, you know, how their land was separate so they could still hunt and fish in the way they did and all that. But this young woman actually translated the song from an elder. Again, another thing, respect our elders, you know, not just because I'm old, but I respect my elders as well. You know, human beings, we learn from them. Another Derek Sivers quote: call the destination to ask for directions. Call the destination to ask for directions. Ask for help from the people who know where it is you want to be going. You know, always ask for help from the people where it is. You know, brilliant line. I mean, I don't know if Derek wrote that, I mean, created that, but whatever. It's cool. And I follow that. I mean, I'm on a chat like this with Ralph Simon, who's somebody who, amazing man, who created the ringtone market, who's always been on the forefront, who's a musician himself, South African, you know, who's been a peace fighter, you know, freedom fighter too for years. Anyway, and a brilliant man. And, you know, somebody asked me who they wanted to interview me, and I said Ralph, because he's like the greatest interview. But I said, but how can I interview him? I have to, you know, I have to interview him rather than him interview. So it's going to be a mutual thing, you know. Hopefully, like this is. You know? Anyway, where were we? So lyrics, yeah. So the importance of lyrics. I mean,
I was thinking, like, because that's the thing. Like, I really find, like, incredible how you never actually, like, played an instrument or put, like, a foot on the stage and did a performance, like a music performance, but you are so like deeply rooted into a lot of good stuff that happened in the last, like, 20-30 years, you know, like, it's incredible. And I want you to know that. You obviously know that, but it's just like me expressing that out. And it's also incredible, like, the work you've been doing, like, with not only because you're, like, really into lyrics, but also, like, the translation stuff. It's like really cool how, like, one person is, like, trying to push this, like, agenda to get, like, everyone to understand every language and to break this, like, language barriers between music. I know it's cool to hear a song and feel it. All right, it's cool. Sure. But I'm with you. I think it's even better to actually have, if it is, like, a language that I'm not allowed, I'm not, like, I won't understand, a subtitle or something that will make me understand. It's better, because I want to actually know what I'm, like, vibing in, you know, and
sure.
what is being said, you know, like, so
I'll give you the brief kind of herstory about that, and also the you know, so background. I was appointed to run the French Music Export Office and the European Music Office for the US and for North America. And when I did that, I'd also worked with artists from different languages. Fela Kuti, he sang mostly in English, but King Sunny Ade, you know, Gypsy Kings, whatever, lots of different artists. And I also toured with American bands in Europe frequently, and a band that would sing in English didn't even speak English. It, like, kind of blew my mind. And when I saw Suzanne Vega perform in Paris at a 2,000 capacity beautiful venue called the Grand Rex, everybody was singing her words, even though it was a French audience. I was like, wow, That was amazing. And I asked her manager, I went downstairs afterwards, who had, invited me. I wasn't working with her then anymore, but I asked him, so how's everybody, more people in France are singing her lyrics than in America. Because he translated it in the liner notes into French, German, Italian, because she's a great lyricist. So that was the idea. And, I was reading Jobim in English translations on the back of liner notes too when I was a kid, so I had a little bit, somebody on this panel actually, or on this IG Live thing, my first IG Live, breaking cherries, said she sang for me at Womex, Jobim in Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, and then translated it. And then a woman from South Africa sang it in Venda, her favorite song in Venda, and translated it. I had Nano, who was on the first of the panels, Arnaud Mativier, do that at NYU. He was singing and playing a song, and then he translated it from French. So yeah, obviously the context of the song is lost. The context of the lyrics is lost if you can't understand the language. Even Eminem, for me, my son can understand it, but it's 850 words in a song. It's slang. If I see it in writing in English, I go, wow, this guy can write. Now I understand why, how he writes, why he writes. He's an amazing writer, because I can read it. The first time I saw 8 Mile, I was like, man, this guy can write. Emicida too. Emicida was somebody that people told me was an incredible writer, and he's a hip hop artist from, he's a more than hip hop artist. He's an icon in Brazil, and everybody said he's an amazing writer, social justice, just brilliant. So I said, oh, great. So I talked to his manager, who maybe will be on the July 30th thing, and I said, hey, lyric translations. So he did it for the next album. He did lyric translations in English. It's called O Glorioso, and it's worth checking on Vimeo. It's still up there, O Glorioso, the whole album.
All right.
I was supposed to go to a conference. I couldn't even leave until I listened to and read the whole album. The writing was so strong, and it changed his career. It made his career successful in France and different countries because more people can speak English than Brazilian Portuguese, and it touched more people. I mean, yes, it made him more successful, but it was able to be reached by and understood by more people. So I've been working to give music subtitles for 16 and a half years. That was 16 and a half years ago. So, more than half your life, right? Which is great, but maybe I'm slow, but the turtle in the hair kind of things, I'm persistent, right? 16 and a half years I've been working on this, and it's coming. And YouTube has proven the concept, broken it wide open. YouTube lyrics, first of all, and YouTube Google Translate, closed captioning lyric translations. Spanish songs are up 100% in North America since one platform, YouTube, started doing that. And they don't really pay for those lyric translations, but it still generates 100% rise in income. With us, they're going to be human translations, so better. So you can understand, because if you do Google Translate, even now, abraço, hugs in Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, was abrasive on Google Translate not that long ago, the opposite of hugs, so, it's still, automatic translation will get better and better and better. Artificial intelligence and machine learning will get better and better and better. But right now, human translates better. So that's going to launch on other platforms this year, or maybe 2021, but close. So we have a platform launching in July. Check it out, called Global Lyrics Project, where you can actually start to translate your favorite songs and be part of that. Subtitles has been my mission since, French songs in North America, songs in French. That was kind of the inspiration. And I was way ahead of the time. The company that I work with, LyricFind, didn't even exist then. It was basically the same time as they were starting. So even lyrics weren't legal online. Lyric translations is a whole other level, and it took us 13 years to get the rights from major music companies. We've known each other for a long time, and your music was just recently, your lyrics are just recently put on LyricFind as well. So I want everybody to understand the value of this, because it's for you and it's for your fans. It's not for me, I mean, I like to see your lyrics there too. In fact, when I sent this to somebody, they said, a friend of mine in New York said, I'm searching lyrics right now, lyrics are the #1 search term, more than sex, more than adults, Lyrics are the #1 search term in most countries of the world, or top 10 in every country of the world. It could be letras in Spanish and Portuguese. It could be parole in French, but, lyrics. And if so your lyrics and every artist's lyrics on here and every music publisher's lyrics on here, if they're on every PRO on here, can actually monetize their lyrics on 75 platforms with us. Google search, we're doing over 1 billion lyric exhibitions a month, 1 billion on one platform, you know. So, and they're all monetized. You get paid each time somebody goes to
Yeah.
the page, the whole thing. So, and really, if you're writing songs and you're writing lyrics, what are you doing it for? Yes, you're doing it for yourself, for your own expression, but you're also doing it to contribute to other people, right? You know, you're doing it to connect with other people around the world, to make a difference and change people's lives in subtle ways or dramatic ways. You know, you gave me credit for helping change your career and your life in that way. Thank you. You know, you've changed mine in ways too. It's always reciprocal. You know, we give each other, it's energy exchange, right? So the energy
Uh,
exchange of your songs all around the world will actually make a big difference, you know, I think. If people in China understand your songs, if people in North Korea understand your song, I'm talking on a political spectrum, but
yeah.
anywhere in the world on an emotional spectrum, they'll understand and they'll get the message. So every songwriter who's listening to this or who knows songwriters, you know, sign up to Lyric Find. If you don't want to do it online on lyricfind.com, you can send me an email and I'll help you the process. I mean, a couple of other things that I work with that are future oriented that I want to talk about is .music, where every artist will have their own domain. We bless this mess .music. That's coming in 2020, 2021. It's for the music community. We want it against Google, against Amazon, against the music industry, the Alliance of Music Industry, and we
I
want it
get you, brother.
for the music community. I mean, we made them all partners. So when I say against, that's a really interesting way of thinking about things because it's never really either or, it's always and.
Yeah.
So we made them partners. So, you know, your worst enemy is your best friend because you can learn the most from it, you know, and change your perspective and actually grow from that interaction and make them a partner rather than, you know, Derek has a great example too. You know, you write somebody once. Oh, he said this about a publicist who did this. You send something to somebody once, they don't answer you. Okay, you might get pissed off, but they're very busy people. They get 100 things a day, 1,000 things a day, whatever. You send something again. So this publicist took the things from the first box when they sent music, then she put it in another box a second time. And then you send it a third time, always really polite and, you know, just I'm checking in, do you have you got my thing? In the third time. And then the fourth time, because it's also the power of the law of four, the fourth time you do it, if you're nice about it, they'll actually check it out. Or you give it to somebody who you know will have them check it out. You know, you ask, you know, you find somebody who's already a filter for them, a tastemaker for them, somebody who they respect, a friend of theirs. Like if your friend tells me something, it's different than if somebody on the street tells me something because they're your friend, right? It's obvious. You know, it's like a party. You know, you introduce people
Exactly.
to other people. Um, so, you know, it's a lesson, you know. So you might think, oh, this guy doesn't give a shit. He's too busy about fucking him, you know. Or you might think, wait a second, you know, let me be persistent. Let me be patient. Let me be polite and respect their time. So short emails, boom, boom, boom. And, you know, eventually, and different, do things differently.
I, I,
In
I
this book also,
I really,
sorry,
I really did. Sorry. You can continue. Sorry, buddy. Sorry.
no, go ahead.
Now, because that what you were saying right now, I think it's really important for people in the music business or outside of it or in any kind of sector. Be persistent. You know, if you have a dream, if you have a vision, if you want to manifest something, be consistent and persistent. Like try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. If you have to try 100 times to succeed, try them. You know, that's at least like what I feel. And this is like I really wanted to stop here because this is like a really good advice for people in music, for people outside music. You know, it's for humans in general. You know, don't put your arms down just because you have one no or three no's or 10 no's, because the value that you have is the value you give yourself. You know, and if we don't value ourselves and we're like, I'm worthy and I'm enough and I'm gonna make it, regardless of the circumstances. I don't know what the future is gonna like present me. I don't care. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it happen by loving what I do, by showing compassion, by being respectful, by being the best version of myself every day, you know?
And by caring for others, by giving. It's all about ourselves. It's about who else is there. So you're contributing to who else is there every moment. And if people remember that they're contributing to the other person and forget about themselves, that's the best piece of advice, because how can you contribute to the guy who's going to make a difference to you? You know, Derek says, you know, he remembers that 3 people when he was working at Warner Chappell, you know, in a kind of an underling position, you know, he went on to form CD Baby and talks about that story too. He says he remembers the 3 gifts that he got from 3 people. And REM gave me a little gold album, you know, and I'd only worked with them years ago, but it was a little gift that I still have somewhere and still remember. But he remembers Jim Mastro from the Bongos and 2 other people I didn't know. I sent a thing to Jim because I used to manage him. You know, so it's kind of silly, and it, you know, but basically people doing things out of the ordinary. He also says, you know, he tells this whole story about a package that he created, this whole thing about this guy who wrote about aliens, you know, space aliens and stuff. It's a cool story, but be memorable, you know, not so normal, you know, show the tattoo on your forehead or whatever it is, you know, and also don't compartmentalize your life. You know, the fact that you're a great tattoo artist and a skater and, you know, a human being and a spiritual leader and all that stuff, it's not separate things, you know, it's actually part of the whole. And if it doesn't work the first time or the second time or the third time or the 10th time, figure out why and get somebody on your team who can help you make it work and change up what it is that you're doing. You know, do it differently, you know, take life as, you know, as lessons everywhere, right? I mean, and think about things differently and listen to different people and walk in someone else's moccasins, you know, that's another First People's expression, you know, and, you know, feel where they are and contribute to them in the moment. And then, boom, you know, once you contribute to somebody, they contribute to you. It's natural law.
It's how it works, right? Like not how, but like how energy works.
How it all works. Yeah. You know, I don't know what time is it. I don't have any time.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. So we have 12 more minutes before Instagram cuts the live stream. We've been here for 48 minutes now, so which is incredible. And,
we could talk for hours.
what I was gonna like, I wanted to talk also about like the personal side, because you obviously talked about like your business, your passions, and but I want to get like to what make me really like relate to you and like you. It's the fact that like beside all the professional things you do and all these projects that you're like working on, you're such like, and I'm not the only one saying it, like everybody in the business industry, everybody in the industry says the same thing. It's like you're one of the most kind-hearted like people that I ever met, you know? And it really doesn't matter like the status quo or like where you are at, or you know, like that doesn't matter. And you showed me that, you know, you showed me that.
Another little lesson that I've learned over my years. It's a story. It's about the way that you value people is the way that they become. So, you know, it's a story about giving cows when a woman was given away for marriage, and the groom would give cows, and this groom only would give the most cows, and the father was saying, no, she's not pretty, she's not this, she's not that, you know, because it was an insult to take more than you were worth, you know. But He gave full on thing, and she just became everything that he thought she was. So I'm not the only one, you know. Bruce Bradley, who just checked on here on Instagram, or everybody on here is a 9-cal human being, you know. And if you know that, and if you act from that place, amazing things will happen in the world. You know, it's just because everybody has something to offer. You know, it's not just me. I'm a nice guy, yeah, but there's a lot of nice people. My whole community in the music industry, that's why I love going to these conferences. They're like dear friends, you know, because they're the same. They're great human beings who care, you know, who are compassionate, who care about what they do and care about the human beings behind it, and who have something to give. And everybody has something to give. You know, it's not just me. Yeah, I'm a nice guy. You're a wonderful human being. I love you. You know, but if we love everybody as you know, if we love everybody as they deserve to be loved, the world will be a different place. You know, it's and that's what music does. You know, it loves everybody who can hear
Oh,
it. You know.
for sure, man, for sure. And thank you for adding this to the conversation, because yeah, this is the power of conversations. I say something that is true and relevant, you say something that is true and relevant, and like it brings another dimension to it, you know. It's so
Yeah.
good that we as humans can listen to each other, can proactively talk and discuss things instead of this conditioning discussions that we see on social media, or the mainstream media, that is like one against the other, and like you should fight against each other to see which idea is the best. And it's like, wait a minute, why?
Love is a higher dopamine than anger and fighting. It might not feel like it, but love is the highest dopamine addiction that there can possibly be, and in a beautiful way, not in a conflictual way. And it's all our stories, and that's what lyrics are. They're our stories. You know, that we're telling our stories. Why? Because we care about the listener. You know, two ears, one mouth. I talk too much. I know it, and I apologize for everybody, but you
No,
know, two
no, no, no.
ears, one mouth. You know, it's important to learn how to listen, learn how to communicate, learn how to love, and that's that's what it's all about. I mean, I love everybody on this, even the people I don't know. You know, I hope they hit me up later, and hope you guys take that out into your life. It's a hard time we're living now in the epicenter. You know, maybe other cities are worse right now, and New York has done okay, but people dying and people at home. But this is a really good time, and what I care about is what's next after this. You know, if we take this lesson of being at home, cocooning, bears do this every year, for the whole winter or whatever, right? Hibernation. We we check in with ourselves. We figure out what's important to ourselves. We pivot, because we've been banging our heads against the same freaking walls for too long, all of us. Me too. But when we
Yeah,
have
yeah,
time to reflect, like meditation or whatever. This is like a group-long meditation, and we see a lot of dear ones pass on to the next phase, right? Most of the people who are dying are older. We see people who we loved and respect pass on and go to the next phase. And if we think about what that is for us and what that means and what our legacy is and what we can make in the present moment happen, among friends, moment, it's life, and it's beautiful, and it's what all of us get to do. It's a get to, if we can coach ourselves and learn how to, be more effective human beings and be more loving human beings to everybody. And, even when I start to hate the politicians or whatever, I have to kind of figure out a way to okay, well, what can I do to change that, to actually change that? The things that we do to change what is, not be powerless, because we all are very powerful. One human being is very powerful. You are very powerful, motherfucker. Everybody who's watching this, are very powerful people, or they wouldn't be here.
yes.
So
Dude, this is amazing, man. I'm like, I'm 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 bursting like in joy, like hearing you speak, and this really like resonates with me. It's like word by word by word, like we've been talking for almost an hour, and it's just like I can.
there's a line from a friend of mine, a songwriter I love. song called Blue Monk. Check it out. And the line in it is be the blue monk. Be the blue monk. Latch. You know, um, and it's as much as we are and we can be blue monks, as much as we are and we can actually give and contribute and remember what's important to us, remember why we're here, and do the next right thing. Another line from Latch, do the next right thing in the moment, in the present moment, be here now. And Bhavaram Das, Richard Alpert, and feel it and express it, communicate with people. Thank you, man. Thank you, Nelson, for doing this. I really appreciate it.
No,
And thank you
thank
all,
you,
everybody,
brother.
for everything that all of you do, and I really wish you success in all of what you do, not for you, but for everybody, for everybody else and for you,
For everybody.
because if you're doing it for everybody, it's going to come back to you many, many times. So be as powerful as you all can be, because you can be fucking powerful. We can change the world.
Oh,
We do
yes, we
change.
can, brother.
Every moment, in the present moment, we change the world,
Fuck yeah, brother. Oh man, I'm getting like really emotional now, man. Fuck yeah, brother. Really, really, really good words, man. Really good words. Thank you, brother. And again, we're close to the hour limit. I want to take this time to thank you again. It's been a pleasure having this like conversation with you. It's so good that we actually had to do the whole hour, which is amazing. I want to thank everybody that joined this live stream, and I want to send love to everybody here. They're also sending like in comments their love. This is amazing. This is fantastic. And
Hi to my
Robert,
friends. Thank you for jumping in, and my new friends, and Nelson. Oh, sorry. We were only waiting for this moment to be free. Yeah, Blackbird.
for sure, brother.
What am I doing? Sorry, I turned it around.
Oh no, no problem, no problem.
Okay.
No, but
Uh,
Robert, thank you so much. It was awesome to have you here, and this will be able to rewatch on IGTV and YouTube later. Man, I'm so happy that we were able to do this. It was like my pleasure. Yeah, I'm just really happy that we did this, man.
yeah, me too. Made my day. Thank you.
So,
And
brother,
listen to
Instagram
lyrics.
is gonna
Listen to
cut
lyrics.
us in 1 minute and something.
Okay.
Listen to lyrics, yes.
Write great lyrics. Write lyrics for the guy and the woman in the last row. Write lyrics for the oppressed people. Write lyrics for the leaders. Write lyrics for people everywhere. Write lyrics that are powerful. And check out Derek Siever's book. I think it'll help everybody. Not a plug, I'm not, but it just helped me in a minute. So. Check out Mondo, July 30th, a cool panel. And I think Nelson's going to be playing on it. We bless this mess. I really hope so. July 30th, 4 p.m. Yeah, Lyric Find, lyricfind.com. Go there, get your lyrics around the world. Music, check it out when it's coming. You own your space, your identity. And we bless this mess. We definitely bless this definite mess.
Robert, again, it was such a pleasure having you here. We're literally going to be out of time in 30 seconds. So, bye-bye, brother. Have a good rest of the day, man.
Yeah, you too. Everybody there. Everybody there.
Much love, brother.
As Johnny said. Love.
Much love, brother. Bye-bye.
Yeah. See you soon, Nelson.
See you soon, brother.
Somewhere when we can travel again.
Oh shit. I just cut it. So we have 15 seconds left. Thank you, everybody, for this. Yeah, for being in this awesome conversation. Thank you, Robert. I love you all. I love you, Robert. And this is awesome. See you.